Are you familiar with the silent but deadly? No, not that silent but deadly, but instead the silence of what you don't say when you're in a meeting, presentation, or negotiation. What you are not saying when you speak will do more damage than what you are actually saying. Whether at work, in sales, or in a negotiation, the biggest mistake people make is that they ignore one critical aspect which can destroy all the good work they've done in preparation for that meeting. Most people have done their homework on the content of what they're going to say, but often many will fail to prepare for what is unstated in the communication for the meeting or the subtext. More mistakes happen in the messaging with the things that are not said than in what is said. By reviewing a scene from one of the greatest legal movies of all time, My Cousin Vinny, we'll address these 3 things that people should avoid concerning unsaid things when making any presentation or speech. Plus, we'll outline the tips that you can use to make unstated parts of that meeting even better. Welcome to Talk to Communicate, where we discuss all things communication, law, conflict resolution, and negotiations for everyone. I'm Steve Maida, a communication specialist, an attorney, and professional mediator for over 29 years. My Cousin Vinny is a comedy, and some of the best legal scenes come from this movie. Vinny Gambini, played by Joe Pesci, is a stereotypical Jersey boys Italian and a newly minted lawyer who has never tried a case. Vinny is hired by his younger cousin, Billy Gambini, played by Ralph Macchio. He and his friend Stan Rothenstein, played by Mitchell Whitfield, are wrongfully accused of armed robbery in the Deep South. Vinny has just arrived in town in his street clothes, leather jacket, and meets Billy and Stan in their jail cell for the first time. Vinny has never met Stan, so let's watch their very first meeting.
You must be Stan. How you doing?
Why'd they bring you in here?
Well, I just got in. I asked where the new guys were, and they brought me right here. Hey, you sleeping, huh? Cute little guy. You know, maybe I just start with you. I'll let him sleep a little bit.
Look, I don't want to do this.
Hey, I don't blame you. If I was in your situation, I'd want to get through this whole thing as quickly and with as little pain as possible. So, let's try our best to make it a simple in-and-out procedure. What's the matter? Relax. Maybe we should spend a couple of minutes together, to get acquainted before we get to it. What's wrong with you?
The first thing people ignore is that the message that they're communicating is never received by the recipient in the exact same way, despite their intention. Every message goes through a sort of 2-step filtering process, and we should understand how our messages are individually processed. Just because you've said something to someone does not mean that they will interpret it in the same way as you have intended it. Typically, every message follows the simple format. The message intended goes through the sender's filter and then is caught by the receiver's filter. When the receiver's filter processes that message, then the message is received. That filter is the sum of all of life's experiences. So while the scene is designed to be humorous, this situation happens every day when people don't consider how their communication is perceived from the other person's perspective. Vinny failed to evaluate the context of the conversation through the filter of Stan's eyes. The same thing happens when people make comments at work that might be deemed as offensive. They don't evaluate the comment and the circumstances of how the recipients might take in and interpret that statement. The next thing that you should consider is that when something seems off, it probably is off. You need to be in tune with the surrounding situation as it happens and not be somewhere else with a preset plan or thought process. It's essential to be present in that moment. Often people go on autopilot when meeting others. The reality is that the first meeting should be when you try to evaluate using all of your senses. What are your senses and intuition telling you? Let's look at Vinny's interaction and see what our senses tell us, even if we made the first mistake of not understanding the filters.
I don't want to do this.
But I understand, but, what are your alternatives?
My alternatives?
Yeah.
To what, to you? I don't know. Suicide, death?
Look, it's either me or them. You're getting fucked one way or the other. Hey. Lighten up, okay? Don't worry, I'm gonna help you.
Gee, thanks.
Excuse me, but I think a modicum of gratitude would not be out of line here.
You think I should be grateful?
Yeah, it's your ass, not mine.
Vinny wasn't in tune with the fact that Stan did not know who he was. On the other hand, Vinny assumed that Stan knew who he was and knew that he would then defend them both. What nonverbal signals did Vinny miss? Well, he clearly ignored the words, stands gestures, and the physical backing away. Almost everything. The last thing that Vinny ignores is that just because he has good intentions does not necessarily mean that it will end in good results. Frequently, people will judge themselves based upon their own intentions and not their own actions. However, other people will judge you based upon your actions and not on your intentions. Take, for example, the simple act of being late to an appointment. You probably didn't intend to be late for that meeting. You might even say there was extra traffic and as a result, that's why you're late. However, other people judge you based upon the fact that you were actually late and not based upon the fact that you intended to be on time. Watch Vinny make this kind of mistake.
I think you should be grateful. I think you should be down on your fucking knees.
I'm sorry, I didn't know it was such an honor to get a visit from you.
Hey, I'm doing a favor here, you know. You're getting me for nothing, you little fuck.
Boy, that's one hell of an ego you've got.
What the fuck is your problem? I did not come down here just to get jerked off, you know.
No. I'm not jerking you off. I'm not doing anything.
That's it. You're on your own. I'm just taking care of Sleeping Beauty. Hey, Billy.
Hey, back off. Vinny. Hey, Vinny. Vinny? Vinny Bag of Donuts, how are you? This is Vinny.
Sometimes, due to poor communication, your good intentions are completely misinterpreted. You need to make sure that you give both the background and state your intentions about what you're meeting about before you start talking about the business at hand. Make sure that the other person understands your good gestures and good intentions. It's also true when you make a concession in a negotiation or concede a point, you need to think about that too. When making a concession, let the other person know that you've actually made a concession. It's also crucial to ensure that your intentions are adequately understood when you provide constructive criticism, in the work environment or to a family member. Explain that it is constructive criticism and not designed to attack that person. If Vinny had done this and simply said, "I'm Vinny, I've been hired by your friend to be your lawyer," it would have helped Stan to be a lot more cooperative. Finally, it's important to note that the mistake of good intentions gone wrong is often based upon the assumptions that both parties are communicating about the same message. This mistaken assumption can create a fatal roadblock to effective communication. We've seen the mistakes that Vinny made regarding the unstated parts of his interaction. However, let's look at what could improve the communication process. First, before jumping into what you would like to say, it's always better to ask open-ended questions to better understand that other person's experience. You can ask questions such as, "What's the problem that you're experiencing?" Or even as simple as, "How can I help you?" Second, explain your intentions upfront and clearly. Vinny could have said, "I'm here to help you as your lawyer." You could just simply say, "I want to make the situation better." Any explanation is better than no explanation. Third, ask yourself, how would you feel in this same situation? And what would you like to happen if you were in this interaction? Fourth, try to listen and engage, those active listening skills. If you're interested in learning more about active listening, please watch our video, Shut Up and Listen, highlighting some of the critical rules of listening. A few of those listening skills are to stop talking and then eliminate distractions and open yourself up to that experience. Focus on building trust and warmth before demonstrating your competence. If people don't trust you, they will not listen to what you have to say. In fact, building trust is critical to any interaction. According to researchers, if you have a choice between demonstrating trust or competence first, you should always demonstrate trust. Next, slow down your reactions to what that other person is saying. Allow yourself the time to pause. Think and reflect upon what is said and how it's said and why it's being said. 99% of the time, that conversation doesn't need to be at a rapid clip. You can allow yourself more time to assess what's actually going on. Finally, ask yourself, is this communication and interaction going the way that you had planned? If not, why do you think it's not going the way that you would hope for? Asking just these two questions can assist you in reflecting on the developing situation and could potentially help eliminate something that's going to spiral out of control. If you want to learn more about communications or the science behind communications, look below for the links to some books and research on the topic. And if you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to see more Talk to Communicate strategies, or just click the videos above.